When we were kids, they never said, "Don't try this at home." Because we weren't a bunch of morons. The Kate Dalley Show starts now.
A woman has to be a woman. A woman places in a home. A man places to provide. And if he don't provide, then you don't need it. I've been working since I was 7. I've been raising children since I was 5. I've been cooking since I was 4.5. And these women today, all they know is McDonald's, fast foods and stuff. They don't know nothing about cooking and feeding no man. Or wait till a man hardens through his stomach. Get you behind in there and cook and feed him. And make sure he get up off his butt and go to work.
Is there something that's missing in this community?
No, the women sorry. Now, they may not like me for saying it, but these young women today, they don't even raise their children. Their children raising them. Look, a woman places to raise her children, and at the end of the day, tell their husbands which one they had to almost kill. That's how that goes. That's why the juvenile center is so full, and they're expanding the jails because mothers don't raise their children and putting the blame on the man. And the man ain't worth a quarter because he won't work. Because I'm 72 years old and I still don't mind working. I ain't scared of work. They stay in the system and use up the elderly money. They've been in the system and lay out there and get all them children and expect us to help them take care of them. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, I love her. Words of wisdom from Mother Agnes. Oh, man, I love that clip. I've been playing that clip a long time on the show, and I absolutely dig it. I dig it. So welcome to the show, Kate Dalley Show. And, of course, it's a Monday, so you know who's up. You know who's on the roster right now, and that is Dr. Duke Pesta, one of the only conservatives in the higher education system that is willing to speak out and tell the truth. And I just love that about him. And we met in the Common Core days when Common Core was rearing its ugly head and people just didn't want to believe it. And so I remember Dr. Pesta going on a speaking tour trying to get through to the parents that this was a monstrosity. Do you remember that, Duke? Oh, gosh, that's when I met you.
Oh, yeah. And the sad thing is that we fought that battle 12, 13 years ago. You were part of that.
Yep.
And while we did manage to get a lot of Americans to realize finally what the problem was. But the laugh was on us, as you remember, Kate, because by the time we heard about it, before we even starting to educate people, it was already baked into the states. It was already there. And there was nothing you were going to do was going to get rid of it because all that federal money had flowed in from the Department of Education to states like Utah and Wisconsin, where I am. And so by the time we actually started fighting, there was no going back. That's why so many Republican governors, people like Pence in Indiana, who became the vice president, who they just renamed Common Core and pretended like they got rid of it. Scott Walker in Wisconsin did that.
Yeah.
All the so-called conservatives, they simply were not going to give up that money. They were going to do what the DPA, the Department of Education said to do. They destroyed American education for kids in middle and high schools, absolutely wrecked it.
Yep.
And before parents even were aware, this was already baked in under Obama, 2009.
Yeah, I know. We need to do our part in staying so awake to all of this and not just taking stuff for granted. And, it's really easy for us at this time in history to look back and go, well, we won that Revolutionary War, so thanks. And now we're just going to go raise our families. So we don't realize.
Here's a question for you, Kate. How many conservatives that you know that do not trust the government on anything and yet still send their kids to the public schools? How do you square that circle?
I don't know.
How in the world? You can see exactly how corrupt and venal. You can see how they're promoting the worst aspects of anti-Christian and anti-Americanism. And you know it. I know it. You voted for Donald Trump for that reason.
Right.
And yet you still send your kids to public schools. Even if Donald Trump is able to finally wrestle down the Department of Education in the next 4 years, that doesn't mean your public schools are going to change, because most of your public schools will then be controlled by the very leftists in your state, the DPI people, who are almost all progressives, even in the most conservative states.
Right.
So why do you trust no government except the Department of Education, ironically, which is the worst part of government?
You know what? You're right. It's a fantastic point. And we don't analyze what we actually really and truly understand, know, and believe in. We don't. And we don't apply it. And so what you're asking is apply the knowledge you have. If you're on Facebook and you're putting up a huge amount of conservative memes and you're for all the right things and you say, you know what, they're constantly lying. You're right. Why would I leave my kids in the very school system that raises them to believe that that this leftist propaganda and all of this crap that they're learning is true? And you're right. You're exactly right. 100%.
And you know why it's so much worse with the DOE?
Yeah.
Because if the tax man's trying to scam you, if they're telling you, the federal government, that you got to do this and you got to do this and you got to use pronouns, okay, that's fine. That's one thing when they do it to you as an adult.
Yeah.
But when you trust your kids with them, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And this is what you get to hear. Well, I know how bad it is, but my teachers would never do that.
Yes.
Are you America, are you paying attention? How many public school teachers, and majority of them women, who are molesting your boys? Do you see how often that's going on?
Yeah.
And it's happening in the reddest of red of states, not just happening in Maryland or Massachusetts or California. You and I made this point 10 years ago when we were talking about Common Core. Why do you think the public schools are sexualizing your elementary school and your middle school kids? There's only one reason for it. If you're teaching little kids about sex, how to perform sex, you're encouraging kids to be open-minded and willing to try sex. The only reason you're doing that to little kids is to give them the power to consent to sex with older people.
Right.
And so why are you surprised that the same teachers who are willing to sexualize 7 and 8-year-old kids are now fondling and molesting them? I mean, doesn't stand to reason that the people who hold the power of sexual education of babies will be able to then use those babies any way they want to, and they justify it, right?
Right.
If you're teaching to an 8th grader, a 7th grader about radical sexual behavior, empowering them, telling them that the morality of your parents and the laws that say that you're too young, all that's just an attack on you as an individual, then let me be the 45-year-old teacher who shows you about sex. Why don't you and I, right, become revolutionaries together?
You're right. 100%, Duke. I'm with you on this.
It's funny to the people listening. This was not on our agenda today.
No, not at all.
You just took a detour at the very beginning by introducing me. I met Dr. Duke for Common Core, and if we're not careful, we're going to spend the next 45 minutes talking about it, because it is an endless topic that needs to be discussed.
No, you're right, and we really do. We really need to put our knowledge of what we realize about the leftists, about government, about mainstream, and apply it in our lives. And if we're not applying it, something's wrong. And there's many schools out there you can put your kids in. I have one here called Liberty Youth Academy. And then online, you have this amazing school. And I've actually read through your curriculum. It's amazing. I love it. I've talked about it for a decade because I think it's amazing. Can you please give people the link?
Sure. We're Freedom Project Academy. And it's FPEUSA.org. And we will start we're a complete online homeschool. We do all the grading, the assignments. We can give your kids diplomas. We have transcripts to get your kids into schools. And we do everything from kindergarten through high school. Our teachers are live. They teach over the internet live. So you have a real teacher and you have real students in the classrooms, the virtual classrooms. So it's really, really important. And we will start enrolling for the fall semester in mid-April. So that's coming around in about 3 weeks.
Well, good timing. We weren't even going to talk about this. This is funny. So excellent.
Let me throw this out there too, if I may.
Sure.
How much money do you think the average mom and dad would spend to keep a kid out of the clutches of a sexual deviant? I mean, how much would you spend
every penny
to save one of everything you got?
Every penny.
So now turn around, and how much money are they taking from you every paycheck to pay the public schools who are manipulating sexually your kids.
Yeah.
So not only are you not able to you're not able to save them, you're paying them to do this.
Right.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. We really do need to kind of take stock in, are we applying our knowledge to our lives? Are we actually doing the things that we say that we believe in? And if anyone's going to lead that crusade, it needs to be conservatives across the board. It needs to be people that understand the Constitution. And the people that understand the Constitution the most, though, those people even surprise me even more when their kids are in public school. I'm like, I don't understand that at all. It's bizarre. You're right.
You are like me. You are a student of history.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you a question. Can you think of any bigger success that the secular, atheist, socialist left has triumphed over American civilization? Can you think of any takeover by the left more devastating than the creation of the Department of Education and public education in general, which made your kids wards of the state? We talked about how the founders of American public education, people like John Dewey, right, actually said that your kids were going to become hostages to the government, not children to be educated.
There, in history, I've discussed a lot of things on the show. We've talked about everything from the Federal Reserve takeover to the takeover of pharma, to the takeover of the nonprofit institution, to government agency. I mean, you name it, run the gamut, right? And the one thing that education, the reason that it's the worst is that it is the brainwashing of the youth. And so we sit there and we point a finger at the, say, Hitler program for youth, right? And what we have got is the same exact thing going on in our schools, but for leftist, communist, globalist propaganda. And this involves the brainwashing. The other things were just takeovers in comparison. This was a takeover and a brainwashing. So you're exactly right. This is the worst form of it in our entire nation, in the history of our nation. This is the worst form.
And what's coming? In loco parentis. The teachers now is more the parent than the parent is.
You're exactly right. And I know people go, yeah, but I know this one teacher, and this teacher is really good, and they're conservative. They are bound to do what the school tells them to do, though, and they will not fight it. And we've seen a history of that. So I don't know if you can actually trust that. And we need to change how we do things in America. We really do. I'll come right back. We'll come right back. We're going to a quick break. We do have a lot on the docket to talk about. Iran to New Mexico to you name it. All Tesla. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show. KateDalleyRadio.com with Dr. Duke Pesta today. And Michael Schwartz coming up. Be right back.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free. Education.
All right. Welcome back. Kate Dalley Show. And of course, get over to allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. Take advantage of these wonderful deals that they've got for you right now. And you can get ivermectin, fenbenzanol. You can also get antibiotics ahead and just have these in your possession. I think they're great for prepping. I think they're great to have because sometimes things happen on a weekend and you might need those things. If you can go all natural, great. If you like me, I like to at least have a couple of those around, right? A Z-Pack or 2, just in case of something bacterial. Just in any case, you can get all of those things, even hormones and all of those things, testosterone, estrogen, all of those things. You can get them all at allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. You don't have to go find a doctor. They're doctor prescriptions, but you can use the code Kate10 too and get 10% off. But it's amazing. And I love it that it comes right to your home and you can get as much as you want. So as many refills as you want. And it's always good to have whatever you're on backed up by refills because you never know. Things happen in an instant. And of course, there was a huge earthquake on the other side of the globe. There was a huge earthquake over the weekend. You just never know what's going to hit. And weather warfare is a real thing. So I would just say have whatever you have on hand all the time, whatever you can get, I should say. allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. I've got Dr. Duke Pesta with me. And did you want to add anything to the last segment that we weren't even going to talk about, but did you want to add?
Well, this is going to be a hyperbolic analogy, but this argument that people say, well, I know the public schools are bad, but I know one of the teachers. That's like saying, you've just been sent to a gulag in Soviet Union, and you elbow the guy in the cell next to you and say, hey, I'm not gonna die because see that guard? Mm-hmm. He's my cousin's boyfriend, so we'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, you know what, though? We really don't take stock. We really don't look and see what we're doing to contribute to the madness. And then we wallow in the madness. And it doesn't make any sense. So we as conservatives, as people that really understand the mechanism of globalism, communism, we really need to stand against it. So pull your kids out of school. And if you're a grandparent listening to this, help out. Help out. Help your kids do that for their kids, right? So I think it's very, very smart. So let's talk about some of the globalist tactics, the Tesla thing. Let's talk. Let's talk about the bomb that went off New Mexico.
Well, they're related because now what's happening, right?
Yes, they are.
Over the last 70 days since Donald Trump took power, you're seeing a slow but very obvious elevation in the violence coming from the left.
Right.
Today we find out that the Republican Party, state party of New Mexico, the headquarters for the Republicans, was graffitied with words that say ICE equals KKK. And actually the building was set ablaze in an arson attack. And you look what's happening with the Tesla people. What used to be screaming and keying cars is now becoming much more serious forms of violence, including blowing them up, the kind of stuff that's going on now. I know it's the stupidest thing to say, but it's the most obvious thing to say. Can you imagine if the right was engaging in the kind of discourse that was elevating from week to week to the point now where you're actually cheering on murderers, Mangione, you are destroying cars that are primarily bought by progressives. You are now violating the global warming by setting this stuff all aflame, not even caring about that. Now you're blowing things up, Molotov cocktails. I mean, this what we've seen. Even Black Lives Matter didn't unfold as quickly and as violently as what you're seeing here.
Right. And then we've got all the Action Network, the ACT UP New York, the Climate Defenders, the Democrat Party. We've got the Democrat Socialists of America. We've got Housing Works, Disruption Project, all of these, the Soros type of funded destroyer. So it's a funded destroyer. It's not naturally driven in any way. And I think a lot of this, at the core of it, they might say it's just the Democrats. I think at the core of this is intelligence programs funding these. It's an NGO-driven color revolution, just like we perform in other countries that we never want to admit that the CIA is doing, not us, not you and I. But it is quite amazing to watch how many Move On orgs, not above the law coalition, but I think they are. All of these different groups, over 25 of them, engaging in this and funding it. And so this is funded. This is paid for. It's funded. And we need to keep outing that over and over and over again. It's not natural at all. It's not people at all. It's just funded. Be right back. More on this in just a second with Dr. Duke Pesta on the Kate Dalley Show.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfthestudio.com.
Singing like you've never sung before. Let it fill the air, tell the people everywhere. We the people here don't want war.
Do you guys remember Bobby Darin? Wow. All right, so he was reinventing himself, right, in the 70s. Anyways, with that song, welcome back, Kate Dalley Show, and I've got Dr. Duke Pesta with me. I also want to make sure that you go to CozyEarth.com. This is a great pickup for Mother's Day. Okay, so I'm giving you the little information bit that that your mother will love, okay, or your wife will love, and that's those insane luxury sheets from CozyEarth.com. Use the code Kate, and you can get 40% off. And they are a wonderful sponsor of the show and help us to stay on the air, dissecting and analyzing all these things, which I love. But you get the benefit of having those sheets and that activewear and all of those cozy, amazing lounge sets that they'll never want to take off for 40% off. So CozyEarth.com, and it is truly amazing. You're going to love this. It also has a 10-year warranty and a 100-night guarantee where you can sleep in it for 100 nights. And they don't love it, send it back. All right, so I've got Dr. Duke Pesta, CozyEarth.com, code word is Kate. And okay, so we have to keep going here. So anything else on Tesla that you wanted to mention? I mentioned some of the organizations.
Yeah, I would say this too. What really scares me is the easiest way for the Democrats to start to gain some traction. I hate to give them this advice. If there were a significant number of Democrats who, even if they didn't believe it, came out and very sternly condemned the vandalism, the arsonism, all of it, they actually did it, even if they didn't really believe it, I tell you, they would gain traction. There's a huge demographic of Democrats just wants one reason to vote for them, just one. And this, because they don't like the chaos. They don't like where this is leading. They don't like the violence. I mean, I hate to use somebody like Fetterman as an example because he continues to vote straight progressive line in Congress. He does it in the Senate, does it all the time. So he says one thing and does another. But if there are enough serious Democrats who are willing to commit to stand with Republicans wherever you find this kind of violence and this intemperance, I think it would help them immensely. So part of me says, keep doing it, keep on doing it. You're digging yourself a much bigger hole. But there's got to be Democrats who find Jasmine Crockett and AOC to be not just a pain in the butt, but ignorant, stupid women who really don't have any ideas to offer the American people. They're just screed speakers.
Well, I'm with you. I mean, I just always want to separate. It's like you've got your climate change gobbledygook and you've got your, I mean, it's endless. Today it was having trouble sleeping, blame climate change. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of things. And then you've got your bought and paid for destruction. And so if we can always, you've got the brainwashing, right? And then you've got the destruction end of it. And what's funny, not funny, but I find fascinating is the fact that the violence has to be paid for. You're not going to get a number of Americans, I think, that are going to go that far unless they're paid to do it under the cover of a group, right? So they can kind of stay hidden. That in America, you're just not going to find that unless it's bought and paid for. Now, the brainwashing is real. The brainwashing exists and it is there, but there's lots of things behind the shadows when it comes to the actual the part of the party that's being the destructive end of it. I think is pretty much all bought and paid for.
And I think you made a great point because we now know from the perspective of the left, the far left, that the environment is much, much less important than they say that it is. And the fact that they're destroying and polluting in major ways and destroying, it's one thing to blow up a car, an electric car, the kind of destruction, if you believe in global warming, what you're doing here is 10 times worse than the worst, biggest gas guzzling car could do in a year. So we now know the truth that they've used climate change for 15, 20 years now, not because they believed in it. This is why the John Kerrys, right, were constantly flying around in private planes. The Hollywood crowd who was moaning and pissing about how we're destroying the planet. Not one of them gave up their yachts or their private planes or their multiple houses. It was just a scare tactic. And I guess they've decided it doesn't work, because now their burn it all down seems to be their chief's statement.
Yes, I agree with you. And it's just a lot to keep our eyeballs on, and then make sure we understand what's behind it, and why. I mean, when I saw this piece about I think it was a Newsweek piece or something that it's I can't remember where it was. Anyways, it was sleep. If you can't sleep, everything is climate change for the brainwashed. But a lot of people are finally figuring that out. They're finally understanding that it is brainwash, and that the constant threats come in for decades and decades and decades with nothing ever happening, except it's going to happen at the end of every single decade, but then it never does. So they have to change the goalpost. So
the thing that gets me is exactly example what you just said. We now find out that not only are the coral reefs outside of Australia, not only are they dying, but they're flourishing. They are expanding amazingly. And so there's no way for the left to handle this. So they ignore it. They ignore it. They, like you said, they switch the goalpost. And there are actually, say some climate change alarmists who are saying, well, the fact that they're growing so fast is also a consequence of climate change. So these people are dangerously unserious intellectually. And the more they become unserious intellectually, the more they become seriously when it comes to violence.
Yes. Now, here's an example on the right I'll share with everybody today that people are going to have a hard time with. Because why? Because it's on our right side of the aisle. Okay, if we're going to go into tribes. So the Abolish the TSA Act of 2025. Mike Lee from Utah, Senator Mike Lee, and Tommy Tuberville, right, of Alabama, are heading up this bill. Now, they're not getting rid of the screening. They're just transferring it to private. Why are they not getting rid of the screening? Why do we still have this ridiculous screening from 2001, right? And from 2003 when they implemented it? Why do we still have this? Because that was supposed to be a temporary measure because of 2001, right? 9/11. And they have kept this. And then we are supposed to go, oh, that's good. It's going to go to private hands instead of the government. Now, yeah, get it out of the government. I agree with that. But then we're never asking questions like, hey, why do we still have that? They've never had to prove how many bombs they've actually taken down because of the screening of a 93-year-old grandma over her jars of whatever. We've never ever put feet to fire and said, okay, what have you actually done with the TSA? Why is the TSA still there? And what are we doing with the TSA? But they've made us all think that we have to go under this scrutinized, getting felt up sort of screening every time we go somewhere. And it's very anti-American, actually. So they're just moving it to private.
Well,
but we don't address it.
Correct, but I think it's a step in the right direction. In the same way that getting rid of the Department of Education as much as they can is not going to fix the problem. It will. Everything will go down to the states, and the states will have to deal with that. Some states will get even more liberal. But the nice thing about removing the TSA from the government and giving it to a private company is you can sue the private company. You now have a recourse that government wouldn't give you.
Yes, you're right. You're right. But it's still not the right direction. It's like a step in the right direction. But now we've created a new normal where it's still normal to get felt up at the airport and no one's going to say anything. I
agree. But I just in this day and age, I don't think you can go from 0 to 100. There has to be steps. It's just government doesn't work that way. Government doesn't work that way. And also, Kate, you've only got what, 2 or 3 congressmen and majority.
Okay,
you got to have 66.
We do have the majority, though. We're going to come right back. Kate Dalley Show. We'll talk about this. Come right back. KateDalleyRadio.com for all the podcasts of this live show. Be right back.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our spring percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to mypillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Illinois Central, Monday morning rail. 15
All right.
cars and 15 restless riders.
Welcome back, Kate Dalley Show. So glad to have you listening in, of course. And all right, so I've got Dr. Duke Pesta, and all right, here we go. And also, I just wanted to mention, look, if you're looking to buy a flag, this is North Pole flagpoles.com is amazing. Go to my sponsor section. They even have this beautiful, like, muted gold. It is amazing as a tribute to those Gold Star families. The flags are gorgeous, and you got to check them out from the flag guy, I call him. He's amazing. And of course, North Pole flagpoles.com, and also they can send them, they can ship them, but this is just such a wonderful flag company for your business. Think about doing that for your business, right? And then also for your home. And they also have the Kneeling to God flagpole as well there. So it comes in, you can prop it up however you want, but it has that option, and this is just amazing. So go to North Pole flagpoles. I'll be talking about them, but they're just such a great company, and the beautiful flags, which I love the sight of an American flag. It just gets me, right? It just gets me every time. I love it. All right, I've got Dr. Duke Pesta. So let's finish that out a little bit. I was talking about how on the right, we do these bills that never eradicate what the left has done. We sort of meet them halfway, I guess, and they're kind of doing this with the TSA. And what we're doing is constantly, in my view, propping up well, it can't pass, so here's an offering, instead of just doing the right thing. The leftists, on the other hand, seem to never have that question in mind, and they're just going to stampede through and give us the worst forms of globalism, communism, and they never ask the question, will it pass? It's almost like they just do it. They just put it through. And so what are your thoughts, Duke?
Well, to be fair, the progressive left could have gotten rid of the filibuster in the Senate. They didn't. They could have. A lot of the progressives wanted to, but they didn't. So they didn't go as far as they could. Right? I mean, that would have been nuclear war, and they didn't do it. So there were some boundaries. The problem, Kate, is that there's not enough margin in the Congress and the Senate. There's just not. It's not going to pass. Mm-hmm. So you got 2 options. And I said this to you during the break. I love Congressman Massey. If they voted to get rid of this by moving the TSA to a private company, I think a guy like Massey will vote against it because it's not everything. It's not what you're saying, right?
Let's just why don't they end it? Why don't they abolish it like the title says, right? So
but the problem is there aren't enough people to vote that in. Do you think that every single Republican would vote for getting rid of the TSA? They only have 2 or 3 to spare, and you're only got a 3-senator lead. You need at least 3 more to be able to supersede that, to get rid of. That's why Donald Trump is probably not going to be able to get rid of the Department of Education. He'll need 36 or 66 senators, I think, to be able to do that. You just don't have the numbers. So my point is, if you can, and you can't do something, do the best thing that you can. And so, again, like I said, go ahead.
Well, my point is that, look, our Republican Party has been doing this for a very, very long time, and it's sort of the coward way out, to tell you the truth. It's like, It's like, look, we're not going to stand on principle and offer up a bill, even though all the bills that are offered up, I mean, they're continuous and endless, right? So let's let them be matters of principle. We stand for this, and we're going to prop up this, and we want to abolish the TSA that should have been abolished 20 years ago. It should have never happened. It was illegal to happen in the first place, right? But they did it anyway. So they should be standing on principle. We never stand on principle. We're always willing to meet in the middle. So what this says to people is we need TSA, but we just want to privatize it. I don't think we need TSA. So they need to stand on principle. I'd have a lot more respect for any one of the cockroaches that are congresspersons if they actually stood on principle and delivered these bills, whether or not they would go through or not. At least I would know they know the truth, instead of trying to sell us and market us on this meeting in the middle, and we've all compromised and we're sitting on each other's laps and we're getting awfully friendly with each other kind of nonsense.
Well, I don't see the privatization of TSA as a halfway middle of the road compromise. It's not. It is a dagger to the throat of the left. It really is. It's not getting rid of it. I understand that, but it's the best thing you can do short of getting rid of it. It really is. It's not. This is not a 50-50 thing. That's why the left is so virulent right now. The Republicans are not compromising. Think about this for a second. Can you name one president in your lifetime, even including Ronald Reagan, who was so intent on moving the needle? It does seem like Donald Trump is doing that. Right now, he's unleashing Musk to investigate how sitting politicians, Republicans and Democrats, how they made hundreds of millions of dollars simply by being members of government. That, can you understand?
Yes,
that is going to blow things up. It's not perfect, but it's better than I've seen in my lifetime.
But I think that's our problem, is that we keep going, well, we'll take anything as long as it's a step in the right direction. The marketing of this is that we still need a TSA, and that somewhere along the line, even our own Republicans think we need a TSA, which we don't, and it's unconstitutional. It's a search and seizure, right? And so we should be the ones, more than half the country should be standing up saying, we still have this? Are you kidding me? Why aren't we getting rid of this? Kind of like Obamacare. Why are we not getting rid of this? But this is how they create new normals, is that even the Republicans are like, well, we're not actually going to abolish it like the title says. We're moving it to private, but it's a step. It's a step, people. Be happy. Instead of we're selling out and not demanding being on principle here, what we're doing is we're going, well, I guess it's better than nothing, right?
Well, if you're going to stand up and condemn the rhinos, I'm 100% with you. But you take the rhinos out of the Congress and the Senate, then what do you got? Then what do you got?
Well, hopefully, if we stood up on principle enough, we would only attract those people that actually stood on principle. But we are so accepting of the rhinos and this absolute crap. These people are full of crap, right? That run for office.
Here's the difference between you and me right now, because I think we agree 100%. But you're arguing what should be, and I'm arguing what you can do, what we've got. They're two sides of the same coin. We are not fighting with each other, but you're making the broader principle, right? Why are these people there? You're right, but they're not there. So I'm looking at it from the perspective of what can we get with what we've got?
But that's not how the Constitution was founded. The Constitution was founded on principle. They never had the discussion of what can we do and what can we get. It just is, right? It just was. So I think that in that same vein, we stick to those guns and we say, look, we stand on principle for the Constitution. The search and seizure is not constitutional, therefore must be gone. Right?
We got into this mess decade by decade by decade.
Yep.
You're not going to get out of it in one fell swoop.
It's a great discussion. We need to have this discussion again next week. Thanks, Duke. Sure. Appreciate you. And of course, I'll be right back with Michael Schwartz and his book, The Only Way to Save America. Be right back on the Kate Dalley Show, katedalleyradio.com. Stay with me. Great discussion.
I hear every day about the products you all wish My Pillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard My Pillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use My Pillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all My Pillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard My Pillows absolutely free.
Now,
you know you can stick it. Why do we always assume everyone knows where they can stick it? Suppose you don't know. Suppose you're a new guy. You have absolutely no idea where to stick it. I think there ought to be a government booklet entitled Where to Stick It. Now that I think of it, I believe there is a government booklet like that. They sent it to you on April 15th.
All right, welcome, Kate Dalley Show. You know, that was, of course, the late George Carlin. But, you know, it's interesting, too. He was such a leftist. I mean, he really was. But there were moments of just sheer brilliance when you pick them out, right? Just sheer brilliance about understanding government in general. And I'm talking both sides of the aisle. All right. So we have, in fact, on our last hour, we were just talking about that, how we've been kind of conditioned to accept the new normal and conditioned to accept whatever is given to us, when we, the people, need to be more proactive in this fight instead of being voyeurs and just watching. So in this hour, I have Michael Schwartz. Dr. Schwartz is with me, Michael J. Schwartz. And he also is the popular podcast host of Two Mics Live. Okay. Over 2 million views a month. And is the author of the #1 selling book on Amazon, Fauci's Fiction. I've had him on for the vaccine book, which has been fantastic as well. And his newest book, which is the latest book, I should say, is The Only Way to Save America. And this is something you were dying to get out. And I love you for that. So welcome to the show, Michael. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me back on.
You bet. All right. So this was the baby. This was the one you really wanted to get out as well. This was important to you. Why?
Well, you know, Fauci's Fiction, I had to write about COVID, but you know how it goes. The ratings, no one wants to talk about it. And Vaccine Fiction was the follow-up.
Yes.
But this is what I've been dying to get out, because Trump coming into office, and I'm a political guy. My show's political.
Yep.
You know, everybody thinks we talk about COVID. We do the news, politics, and comedy. And I've been talking about some of these issues for years, but Trump, in my opinion, is the one guy in our lifetime that can actually get some of this stuff done.
Okay. And so, okay. So
where do you want to start?
Let's see. Okay. So that clip just brought up taxes. So let's go there. Abolishing the income tax, replacing it with a fairer system for economic freedom. Do you think that this will actually happen?
I'm hoping. You got guys like Howard Lutnick, you got Scott Besson over at Treasury. And if you listen to Howard Lutnick, I mean, he's been talking about this for years. I've been talking about it for years. If you think about the system that we have now, 40% of Americans do not pay federal income taxes. And the problem with that is they all vote. So they're telling people like you and I who work that we got to pay our fair share and we got to pay more. To make the system fair, I talk about a VAT tax, and that's with a V, not a flat tax. People always, they hear me. A VAT tax, because if you can't do it with tariffs alone, a VAT tax is the only way to do it. And a lot of people will complain and say, well, wait a second, you're going to raise prices. Well, yeah, but if you think about the money you're going to have in your account from your federal income taxes that are not coming out of your account every 2 weeks or every week, whatever you get paid, now it's a system that it's voluntary. You can figure out when you want to purchase those products. And people who make more like Jeff Bezos will buy the $100 million yacht when I can afford the $1,000 bass boat. I mean, that's about all I can do. So at that point, though, it becomes fair across the board, because the people who aren't paying now have some skin in the game.
Okay. And so, where are we on the where are we on the scale of doing anything to abolish the income tax? Because as the tariffs rise, we're going to have both, and this is going to be a problem for us, right, economically. So we're going to get stung pretty hard. So where are we at? Where are we at with income tax right now? Where does it actually stand? I get asked this question a lot. I thought I'd pass it along to you.
Sure. Well, I mean, I go back and forth with it. The biggest thing is, they want to do the external revenue service to start bringing in money from tariffs, and they want to scale down the internal revenue service. I think the plans are in motion to get there. I got a little annoyed last week at Howard Best, and I guess it was maybe 2 weeks ago now, where they said we want to, eliminate income tax for anybody under 150,000, because that goes against my argument. I want to eliminate tax for everybody. Income tax didn't exist until 1913. That's where the kids, when I get into these conversations, people who want to be detractors, they'll always say, well, it's a big system. You can't turn the whole country at once, and it's always been like that. That's not the truth. It was never like that until 1913 with the 16th Amendment. So where are we now? It looks like we're going in that direction, but it looks like they're doing it slowly. And that's kind of it's kind of counter to what the Trump administration usually does. They usually come out and tell you exactly what they want to do. So kind of, putting Band-Aids on things where you think about this, Kate, they've been using this system against us politically for years, because one candidate will say, well, I'll give you a $5,000 tax credit for your kids. The next one will say, well, I'll make it $6,000. They just can't keep countering each other with your own money. It's not their money, folks. It's yours.
Yeah. And so Scott Bessent, a long history of with Soros, right? And doing the Soros fund. Do you trust him?
I'm more of a Howard Lutnick guy, but I've heard that Scott Bessent is on the same page when it comes to this. So I'm a little trepidatious. Look, not every cabinet pick is going to be everybody's number one. There's a couple people in the cabinet that I'm not thrilled about, but it's not my choice. Ultimately, it's Trump's choice. He's got to be comfortable with who he works with. So do I trust Scott Bessent? Look, I'm a former police officer. They always taught you, don't look at their eyes, look at their hands. Their hands are going to do something to you, not their eyes. So I'm more interested in actions than, what people have said about him in the past.
What do you like about Howard Lutnick? Because he seems to have kind of a deep state background too. So why the fondness for Howard? That's what I was wondering.
The fondness for Howard is because I've heard him talk about this tax issue, and he is a big proponent, like I am, of abolishing the income tax. He understands it. He's talked about it ad nauseum. I don't know much about him beyond that. And of course, the 9/11 stuff with Cantor Fitzgerald, but I don't know him personally. But I've heard him talk about this tax proposal, and he almost sounds just like me. So I'm curious if he's read the book or not yet.
Okay. All right. And what about dismantling the DOE with, crucial to our country's future? Talk about that. This is one of the points of your book.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Look, the Department of Education has failed us tremendously. Anytime government gets their hands on things, that's when you have major issues. My push button issues are taxes and term limits. Then you kind of go down the line. When you look at the Department of Education, it wasn't one of my core issues. It doesn't have the largest department. They only had about 4,000 employees, but their budget's pretty big. I think it was about $268 billion. But when you look at the redistribution of wealth, it doesn't seem to be benefiting our kids the way it should have.
Yeah. Is it, do you think that it should have ever been created in the first place, as far as that goes? I mean, to me, it's very unconstitutional to have a federal Department of Education, and it was supposed to be a state's issue. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure, it was established in 1980. You know that. It's relatively new.
Right.
And no, I'm a small government guy. I kind of walk the line between libertarian and constitutional conservative. I think we need some limited government. Libertarians will tell you, hey, we can't even have borders, and I'm not that far.
I'm not that far. I like borders, because what happens on one piece of soil versus another piece of soil is a completely different game. So in a justice system that belongs to two different countries. So I'm for borders, but I look at some of these big departments and I think, are we actually going to dismantle it though? It looks like it's going to be kind of gobbled up by, kind of segued into other things rather than dismantling it. That's my concern, because I think it should be dismantled.
So I agree with you. What Linda McMahon said, because it takes an act of Congress to dismantle this thing. So what Linda McMahon said is she's gonna start giving that money back to the states and make it so small, and hopefully people will realize. This is the problem, when they say, oh well, hopefully people will realize. I mean, look at the culture of our government now. You look at the dichotomy between the left and the right. The left doesn't compartmentalize anything. I mean,
Right.
you could find a cure for cancer and they would find a problem with it.
Mhm.
So I have a hard time thinking that they will actually be able to dismantle it. I'm feeling like when that pendulum swings back, it might still be there and it will be so small that maybe we won't know it's there. But then when a Democrat comes back into the White House, all of a
Mhm.
sudden the Department of Education is back. I have the stats now, friends. It's a $241 million budget. You know,
Right.
but the problem with this, though, when you get rid of it, if you think about the good that it does,
Mhm.
empower teachers, giving funding back to the state and local level, giving his parental
Mhm.
rights have been eroded over the years with this. And anytime the federal government gets their hands in things, you can see what happens.
Mm. So what do you think about Doge? Are they going to go after sort of more of the roots of the tree instead of some of the branches? I feel like there's a lot of branches they are talking about. Elon was talking about Social Security last week, but I would love for them to go over kind of the long plans, all of the spending and funding. I know they can't perform a miracle, but I would like to get your thoughts on Doge, on what they're actually doing.
Yeah, you and I probably have been having the same conversation for
Yeah.
years,
Mhm.
trying to find the waste, fraud, and abuse because we all
Right.
knew it was there.
Mhm.
Are they finding it? Yeah, they're on track right now to find $1 trillion. The problem is
Mhm.
that's only about 15%. We had Buddy Carter on the show, Congressman Carter from Savannah, Georgia, and he was saying the problem with this is that you've got about 14, I think maybe 84% of the budget is non-discretionary. So that leaves 16% left over that you can kind of play around with. And when you see what's going on at departments like USAID, Social Security, they're getting into the minutia of things. I love the fact that they're working with the cabinet members one-on-one to try to find this and gaining access because their team seems to be doing work that we all thought they could do over the years, but no one ever took, had the cojones to do it. Do I think they're going to make a difference? Look, 15%'s no joke. All these people on the left who were saying, you found $15 million here and $115 million there. That's nothing. Are you kidding me?
Right.
You want to see the check that I wrote to the federal government? It's probably the same people that aren't paying federal income tax, the same ones that are saying this stuff. I would gladly take my federal income dollars back over the last couple of years. It would pay for a lot that I can't afford now because of the rampant inflation that the left has caused us. So look, anything they do, even if they found $100, that's a moral win. Are they going to get to the nitty gritty? I hope so.
Yeah.
The problem is the left has been pushing back so much and defending the indefensible. And that scares me because people on the left to suspend reality for taxpayers to suspend reality and say, I don't care about my hard-earned tax dollars. You've got to, be kidding me with that. That just blows my mind.
Yeah. Okay. Tell people where they can get the book, The Only Way to Save America. It's got a lot of points, all about election integrity. It's got points about the administrative state, dismantling that. Where can they buy it?
Right now, you can get it anywhere books are sold. Amazon's always the easiest place. The only way to save America. It's called Trump 2.0, The Battle for Common Sense.
Awesome. Hey, Michael J. Schwartz, Dr. Schwartz, thank you. And 2 Mics Live, where can people access that?
Rumble, that's the channel 2 Mics Live. We got 2 shows, 2 Mics Live and the Mike Schwartz Show, and I'll be live tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern.
You got it. Hey, thanks so much for joining me. Super appreciate you. And of course, I'll be right back. Kate Dalley Show, and we'll sum up some of the things today. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show.
Well, hello everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my artist studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, for at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
All right. Welcome back. Kate Dalley Show. I'm going to open up the rest of the show for you. Phone lines are open, 888-673-1450. it's always a trip coming back and trying to get through like the weekend news and then Monday's news, because usually it's a lot. Fridays are interesting because Fridays are document dump day. And that is usually when documents are kind of dumped to be right before the weekend, so nobody pays attention to them. And we've got a lot to discuss. There were a couple of points from last Friday's show about the Star Wars program, about these different programs that are just these ginormous boondoggles that we've talked about. I did a deep dive on Friday about them. And I always love being able to do that because I always think that it's so vital to be able to have a conversation where you're talking about what continuously happens in government, and we don't talk about it a lot, right? This is something that's crucial for us, that we talk about these giant money laundering is what I think they are. Money laundering things like the Star Wars program that keeps getting funded all these years later, 40 years later. And the AIDS cure 40 years later. Where'd all the money go? Where's all the money going? And so I talked about this on Friday. If you had comments on that, please call in 888-673-1450 if you're listening live in the afternoon. And also, it's funny because I was looking at this article about Scott Bessent because Dr. Schwartz mentioned Scott Bessent, who's our Treasury Secretary and the one that founded the Soros Fund. You got that right. You heard me right. Our Secretary of the Treasury was the one that did the Soros Fund. Worked for Soros, works with Soros. And it was like, oh, he has the worst job ever. He has the worst job because he knows what the implications of tariffs are, but he's doing them anyway. And it's going to lead to a cascading and generalized price action because we're not getting rid of the other taxes. So now we're going to have all of it. Now, a lot of us conservatives, a lot of the conservatives out there think, okay, well, we have to go through this pain because we know where we're headed with tariffs, and it's a long game plan. Okay. And so that's something to understand. But I promise you that it's funny when I see headlines like Scott Bessent has the worst job. You should feel sorry for him. And I'm going, the guy's a total insider guy. Why would we hire the George Soros Fund as the Treasury to the United States, you guys? Come on. Okay, caller, go right ahead.
Kate, I think there are all these appointments. Some of these appointments are just bait to draw out the bad ones. But about 45 years ago, I was watching television, and they showed this Star Wars thing, and it moved like it was made out of cardboard.
Okay.
I mean, it didn't exist. It wasn't real.
Yeah, it was.
Last time I checked, NASA was Muslim outreach during the Obama administration.
Yeah, very, very
weird.
There's
some more money gone.
I don't know. Thank you so much for calling in, though. I really, really appreciate it. Look, we have a lot of these black holes all built on theory, and NASA is one that takes an awful lot of money, but then they always have the excuse at the end of the day that they can't provide anything with that money. Like they can't really do anything that they've said they can do. And same thing, right? Even SpaceX is guilty of this too. And so I like to analyze all of government, not due to what side you're on, but just all of it. And it seems as though so many things like this are boondoggles, or like in the conversation I had with Dr. Pesta, it's moving the goalpost. It's saying that, well, we can't get anything, so we might as well settle. Why can't we get anything if we are the representation in the country for the Republicans as the majority tribe? Why can't we get anything? Why do we constantly blame the minority in this country for not being able to go after principle? Same exact argument in a different way. Same exact argument, kind of in the same realm of it's a smoke and mirror. It's a situation where you can get somebody just going, oh, I'm just so frustrated, but we'll get there. You can put them in that mode easily with both conversations, with both types of excuses, right? It's the reality of what we are able to do, and we just can't get through any principle, so we'll settle for the semi-principle, right? or it's the, gosh, we just can't find that cure. We just can't do it. We just can't cure cancer. We just can't do the things on the moon again. We just can't do anything. So we'll settle. I don't know, guys. I want you to comment on this. 888-673-1450. Be right back on the Kate Dalley Show.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our spring percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Gonna go to the place that's the best. When I lay me down to die, going up to the Styrian sky.
Welcome back. Of course, you can call in 888-673-1450, 888-673-1450, and always so glad where you can share some information with us. I was talking about the boondoggles, the boondoggle excuse that we can't be on principle, and the boondoggle excuse that we're always working on it perpetually and forever. So perpetually forever working on whatever we say we're working on, and it never quite gets there. It gets to fruition, but we accept every excuse in the book. We would never accept that many excuses in our own lives or in the lives of our kids or the lives of, those around us. But we accept it when it comes to government, which is really strange. And I don't know why we do it. Maybe because we think we can't do anything. I don't know. I do have a caller on hold. I just want to make sure you get to the website. Of course, FIQ supplements. That's where I get my supplements. People always want to know, where do I buy mine? Because I've had so many different doctors on and so many different people with supplements. But honestly, it's FIQsupplements.com. That's where I get mine because they are such good quality. And they also have a histamine that you're going to want to check out. And my grandkids take this histamine. It's awesome. And I love it because it's all natural. And so if you're getting into allergy season, like we are here in the state of Utah, please, the histamine over at FIQsupplements.com, just use the code Kate. You're going to love me for this one. It's so great. Okay. All right, caller, go right ahead.
Excuses, yes, but also deceit, lying, disinformation of all sorts are using.
Yes.
You say we settle.
Yes.
Well, what is implied in your conversation with Dr. Pesta, not you, but Dr. Pesta, and I've heard it from others over and over again, well, we're moving the right direction. This is kind of slow, and you got to take it easy, and there's no other way to do it. No, that is completely denying reality. The reality is the budget's increase under, whether it's Trump or Biden or Obama, they keep increasing. And it's a combination, those budgets, a combination of the Congress and the president. The president can veto them. The president submits those budgets. So what we're settling for is lost freedoms and a lot of death and a lot of theft. So this current budget they're working on is is an increase in spending. It's not decreasing. DOGE is just a distraction to make people think that the Republicans are on the right side. So we're selling for more government. I want to give an example. I've called in and talked about the International Agency, or the Agency for International Development, a number of times. The budget, this is kind of important. Garrett Garrett, I don't know if you know who he is. He's very high in the largest church of my state, and he's also was a member, or is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, and also, he has a number of connections in a number of the New World Order agencies, and he openly talked about it, and it's in Ben McClinton's book you found on the show many a time, The Invasion, Volume 2. And he talks about one of the strategies of the conspiracy. Sometimes they're just really open because they know the media is going to protect them and the academia protect them. He talks about remembering and forgetting. And he says one of our tactics and issues, I've seen this tactic for years and years, but I never saw them actually talk about it. And he says it helps to create the structure for their international system to actually teach the people how to, or teach them not to remember. Trump was in office for 4 years. The Agency of International Development was in place. And what I noticed, I went to their websites over and over again. I kept looking. They only give the budgets under Biden. There's one big page there, the 4 years that Biden was in office. All the budgets for that the Agency for International Development under Trump were closed down. You can, and I went to one after another. They don't tell you what the budget was. Now, there's some places where they combine the budget of the Department of State Department with that budget of that agency, but they don't break it down, so you don't know how much. Right. I would bet you at one place it said about $18 billion 1 year under Trump, but that was really hard to even find that, and it was $23 billion under the last year of Biden. And that accounts for doesn't account for the inflation increase. But the point is that I bet that 90% to 100% of what they're complaining about was in Trump's budget the first term. Why don't we look at what Trump did instead of just only look at what Biden did?
No, we do on the show. Thank you. We do both. That's why we're always trying to do that. We're always trying to kind of analyze government, no matter who the tribe is. Okay, because it's important. It reminds me of there was a CIA document, and it was clear back in the 80s. So this was a while back. And I know some of us, it seems like the 80s were kind of like, yesterday, but this was a while ago. And they were doing these different programs at the time. And this was a CIA document admitting that they had 10,000 compartments, each with a specific code word. And someone who has now this is the CIA admitting, so it's 100 times worse than this, but okay, someone who has the code word they wrote for just one compartment cannot have access to information about a black program in another compartment. So if you had information on one black program, on the black budget that no one ever talks about, the money that's hidden, you couldn't actually have access to another. Very weird. And he wrote this document wrote about 50 members of Congress know bits and pieces about particular programs, but only a handful of members and congressional staff, too few to enable serious congressional oversight, have broad access to information about the whole black budget. I would probably at this point say, if they're saying that, it means that no one has access to the whole black budget that's in office, because they don't work like that. They love to keep them compartmentalized. And the elected officials, who I think are cockroaches on both sides of the aisle in Congress and in the Senate, for the most part, don't mind not having access. I think they actually prefer it, because when I've met these individuals, all I walk away with is, oh my gosh, they're a total idiot. They like them to be idiots, because then they don't really know much. Okay. So they have all these different programs, and these black programs that never get talked about, never get mentioned. And they said almost more than 2/3 of the money is hidden in Pentagon research, development, procurement budgets. And that these include operation funds for intelligence that nobody else gets to have any purview over, right? Nobody in Congress gets to really see. And that the Pentagon's black budget funds the CIA and the global listening posts of the National Security Agency. Keep in mind, this was 40 years ago. And the super secret satellites of the National Reconnaissance Office, and that they're all cloaked in secrecy. This is the CIA saying this, okay? And so they were talking about, do the weapons work? Do these programs work? Are they on schedule? Nobody will know, because they say none of your business to anybody inquiring. And so for many of us, we realize that our elected officials are supposed to be the ones over this, not the secret group at the Pentagon doing a secret black budget and secret programs with secret money. Okay, it's supposed to be our elected officials keep tabs on all of this and understand that it's going and root it out, because it's illegal. not kept out of it just to say, oh, it's national security. That is our national security, would be the elected officials should know about everything, right? And be able to stop it and so forth. But they did this one particular program where they were going to weaponize dolphins. They were literally going to weaponize dolphins, and tons of money went into this program. I'm not kidding when I say, you heard that right. I'm not joking. They wanted to weaponize dolphins. And so there's all kinds of these types of things that they do and they get money for, and then no one ever knows anything. No one ever understands. They also call them, at the time they called them brickbats, a classification, so that money would be no object, and they knew that they could do whatever they wanted and get however much money, printed or otherwise, stolen money for these projects. Very interesting. Anyway, just thought I'd add that into the conversation. I didn't get to it Friday, but all right, be right back. Phone lines are open, 888-673-1450. Be right back.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to the Kate Dalley Show. Really happy about that. By the way, I had Mike Lindell on. Go to mypillow.com and use the code word Kate. Also, some wonderful Mother's Day gifts there, too. And they're having a huge blowout right now, blowout sale. And you can take advantage of that. And when you do so, you're getting a twofer because you're supporting the show. So I love that. I mean, when you can get 2 things for the price of one, support free speech and get great Mother's Day gifts, wouldn't that compel you to go to mypillow.com and take advantage of the deals? When you put in the code Kate, you've got the rock bottom prices guaranteed to you. And no matter what sale they're having, you're going to nail that with the code word Kate. So mypillow.com, code word Kate. And I really appreciate that because it goes to the show and helps me stay on the air to deliver some truth. And you know I'm not going to be reading the AP, AP News Network for Idiots. And so you know that we're going to dissect real news here. So I would like to get your 2 cents, actually, on the conversation I had with Dr. Pesta, and that is, do we stand on principle? Do we say, look, I don't want to compromise and meet in the middle because people don't think it will go through. I want people representing bills. Like we had Dr. Pesta and I, and I'll bring on the caller in just a second. Dr. Pesta and I were kind of debating over Mike Lee put up the bill about abolishing the TSA. But when you get into it, it's not really abolishing. It is abolishing the TSA federally, right? The TSA federal. But you're basically saying that we still need it. So we're still being sold on the idea that we should have it, even though it was implemented illegally because it's search and seizure. Okay. And that it's going to go to privatized. So we're not really abolishing it altogether. We're just moving it. And to me, that's a problem. We're never standing on principle. And so we need to. But if you want to debate that with me, I'm fine with that too. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I always like to debate it. So, okay, caller, go right ahead.
Yeah, so I heard the debate you had with Duke Pesta earlier, and he said, well, at least, we're taking baby steps in the right direction.
Right.
I agree with you. I think this whole thing is very suspicious sounding, what Trump is doing and all of his bluster and all of his threats against these. So there are 2 potential scenarios that could play themselves out, and both are negative for our country. Number one, we could go to war, and any, hundreds of billions of dollars we might save by shutting down USAID will have gone for naught. I mean, when you go to war, you don't spend billions, you spend trillions. So that will negate and, more than overcompensate for any money we can save by.
And a lot of that goes to BlackRock. A lot of that's going in the pockets of the Cheneys of the world, which if you're a conservative and you still like Cheney, your head is so far in the sand. I don't know quite how to get it out at this point, but yeah. Oh, anyway. So
okay, so that's scenario one, which is bad.
All right.
The potentially and another potentially disastrous scenario, if we by some act of God avoid going to war over the next 3 3/4 years, which I think would be a miracle. With all the saber rattling and bluster and everything coming from them. What would happen is Donald Trump would go on record for having done all these things that sound conservative. I mean, a tariff sounds conservative. Of course, 25% tariff is extreme overkill.
Right.
In saving, cutting these programs from the Department of Education, cutting costs here, cutting costs there. All these things Donald Trump is going to go down on record as having done, and he has no control, like I said in the past, over the course of the economy. The Federal Reserve could tighten the money supply and force a recession just like they did in 1929, October thereof. And everything would be not blamed on Trump so much because, like you said the other day when I called in, this is not about him personally. It's about
deeper.
The conservative policy. It's deeper because they could replace Trump in a Manhattan millisecond with somebody just as bad or worse. It would seem like an outsider, which he's not. But everything that Trump's talking about, all these conservative principles that are being posited by him, then they would be indicted as the cause of this economic downturn, when in fact, actually the tariffs could really do that.
Okay.
We should gradually go into, anyway, so it could be even worse than not doing anything at all, because now the conservative agenda would be called into question even worse than it has been in the past.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for the call. Okay. I think a lot of people out there love Trump. And like I said, it's not about Trump because I've not really had a lot against Trump. I mean, I like Trump. So Trump in of itself is not my biggest problem. It's who's behind Trump. Like, let me put it this way. Do I see Trump the same as like Hillary? No, I don't actually. I think they're cut from totally different cloths. I think there's a lot of people out there who it's Trump is Satan or Trump is the savior. It's on both sides of the political spectrum. I think President Trump is somebody that the deep state can go, hey, we want you to implement this and this and this. This will be good for this and this and this. And it's bought into because of the reasons given. But then looking 10 years down the road, that's where or 5 years down the road or 3 years down the road is the problem, because of the fact that he could be a cog in the wheel of what's coming that's going to just flatten us. And that's my biggest problem, is that we don't see ahead to all the things being done right now. So on the surface, you could look at all the things being done right now and you could say, well, this is good and this is decent and I like this. But it's where it's headed. It's where it's going. And that's why it's never about Trump for me. It's about all of the cogs in the wheel that deliver on these programs and are delivering on digital tyranny and are delivering, like last week we had the executive order of the modernization, no more checks coming from the federal government. It's all digital. That moves us in a certain direction. So I think that it's hard to see those things. I think it's really hard. So I don't paint it in the Trump bad, light. I paint it in that Trump is being useful to them right now. And Trump is not the focus for me. It is the deep state, always the deep state. So I always think we should be saying the deep state is doing X, Y, Z. I think it would be a better conversation, because then we would realize who's really doing at the helm of these things. Okay, caller, you got 45 seconds. Go for it.
Kate, Mike.
Hi.
I'm not against Trump either. I mean, I just want to look at his actions.
Yep.
And if we look at any president, whoever the president is, or any of the politicians, just look at their actions.
Even ding-a-ling.
Kind of, just mute the TV and watch what they do.
Right.
But but when we have a head of state of another country that addresses our Congress and has an organization that really has a grip on most congressional members, then their enemy becomes our enemy, right? Which we're talking about Iran.
Yes.
So let me say real quick.
Okay.
We're going out. In the few.
Go ahead.
Iran was the first country to offer help after 9/11, resources and intel, but we brushed them aside because
that's true. I'm going to talk about Iran tomorrow. Call in. I'm going to talk about Iran in that second hour tomorrow. Call in. Mel is tomorrow as well. Be faithful, be fearless. We'll address more of this on tomorrow's show. You can call in